A finite verb is a verb where the meaning is limited. It agrees with the subject, with person, as well as the tense. A non-finite verb is a verb where the meaning is not limited. It does not need to agree with the subject, number, or person, or tense. A finite verb is usually identified when we have a subject that is followed by the verb, and that verb is referred to as a finite verb. He writes a book. Now this sentence is an example of a finite verb. The finite verb over here is writes, and this sentence is in the present tense. The subject here is he, and immediately after the subject we've got the verb, which is writes. So in this case, it can be referred to as a finite verb. Now, can we change the tense of the sentence? Yes. If we change the tense of the sentence, we have he wrote a book. So over here, when we change the tense, we have got the verb also changing, because previously we had writes and now it is wrote. So you can say that when the tense is changed, the verb's form also changes, and in such cases you can say that the verb is finite. In the case of a non-finite verb, the non-finite verbs are also seen along with the subordinating conjunctions. He is writing a book. So over here, is the finite verb and writing is the non-finite part of the sentence. So in this case, if I change the tense, it would be he was writing. So you can say that writing is the verb which does not change with the tense, and hence writing can be referred to as a non-finite verb. But when the tense was changed, now is becomes was. So you can say that was is the finite part of the verb, and the whole verb taken together, which is was writing, it can be referred to as a compound verb, because we have got the first part to be finite and the second part to be non-finite. Non-finite verbs are of three types. The first type is the infinitive, then we have got the participles, which can be the present participle or the past participle, and finally we have just the base form of the verb, which is the bare infinitive form of the verb. The infinitive form of the non-finite verb is usually written as to plus the base form of the verb. For example, to read, to walk, to sleep. So all these have got a to attached to the base form of the verb. The present participle form of the verb is formed by adding the ing. If it is read, then it would be reading with the ing. Or if it is sleep, it would be sleeping. Walk, walking. The past participle form of the verb is usually formed by adding ed to the verb. But this is for regular verbs. In the case of irregular verbs, you find that the past participle is formed by adding an en, t, etc. So if it is read, it would be read. If it is walk, it would be walked. If it is sleep, it would be slept. So all these are the past participle forms. And finally, let's take a look at the bare infinitive form of the verb. Here, we know what is an infinitive verb. When we've got the verb attached to, then we call it as the infinitive. Now, in some cases, we call it the bare infinitive when we omit the to. Only the verb is being written. For example, if the verb is read, we do not use to read. We just keep it as read. Or if it is to walk, we do not use to. We just write it as walk. So these are some of the bare infinitive forms of verbs. He was writing a book while traveling in the flight. This whole sentence may be split into two clauses. That is the main clause and the subordinate clause. The main clause is the clause that can stand independently and it makes complete sense, whereas the subordinate clause is always dependent on the main clause. So the main clause over here is he was writing a book, and the rest of the sentence, which is while traveling in the flight, is the subordinate clause, and this clause is dependent on the main clause. So in the main clause, if we observe, we have he was writing a book. So was is the finite part, writing is a non-finite verb, and since we have got the head word which is was in this particular clause, we can say that this is a finite clause, which is he was writing a book. Whereas the rest of the sentence, which is the subordinate clause, which is while traveling in the flight. Here while and then the verb traveling. We have got the verb traveling. Traveling is the non-finite verb. Since the head word is a non-finite verb, the subordinate clause may be referred to as a non-finite clause. These two clauses are joined by a conjunction. It is known as a subordinating conjunction, which is while.
You need to wash your hands before and after food.
Finite, need. Non-finite, to wash.
You need to wash your hands before and after food. So over here we've got to wash. Now to wash is the non-finite form of the verb. It is in the infinitive form. Need is the finite verb.
Washing your hands is a good habit. Non-finite washing. Finite is.
Washing your hands is a good habit. So over here, washing is the non-finite form of the verb. It is in the present participle form as we have got the ending ing. So this whole sentence can be referred to as a non-finite clause because the head word is a non-finite verb. Here in the sentence, is the finite verb.
I washed my hands before having food.
Finite washed. Non-finite having.
I washed my hands before having food. So here, washed is the finite verb. Before having food. So here, having is the non-finite verb.
If you wash your hands often, you are less likely to fall ill.
Finite, wash, are. Non-finite, to fall.
If you wash your hands often, you are less likely to fall ill. In this sentence, we have got three types of verbs. If you wash your hands. So here, wash is the finite verb because it comes before a subject, which is you. So you wash your hands often, you are less likely to fall ill. So here you are. Are is again another finite verb. And to fall. To fall is a non-finite verb. It is in the infinitive form as we've got to with the verb fall. Kids love playing in the garden. So over here we have got the subject kids, and after the subject kids we've got the verb love. So love can be referred to as a finite verb. Playing in the garden. So playing is the non-finite verb as it has got the endings ing. It is in the present participle form. His house, though built long ago, is an architectural beauty. Built is the verb and it comes after the conjunction though. So built is in the past participle form, and since we have got no subject before the word built, it is referred to as a non-finite verb. Is an architectural beauty. So here is the finite verb. Climbing steps is a very good exercise. So over here, climbing is the verb in the non-finite form. The endings are ing. It is in the present participle form. Is the finite form of the verb. He needs to read the recipe before cooking the dish. So over here, needs is the verb which is in the finite form and it comes before the subject he. To read is a verb in the non-finite form. It is in the infinitive form. And finally, the verb cooking, which is again in the non-finite form. The endings are ing and it comes before the conjunction before. This book is too heavy to carry. So over here we've got the subject book, and after the subject book we've got the verb is, which is in the finite form. And towards the end of the sentence we've got To carry. To carry is the non-finite form of the verb. It is in the infinitive state.